They are using a form of fighting, unsurprisingly known as necking. As the fight intensifies, one of the bulls is cut underneath the eye. The males use their heavy skulls as clubs. Then, a rare turn of events.
Where's the lucky female? That's knocked out.
The challenger hits his opponent just below his skull, giving him a concussion. The victim actually gets 2 blows, the first from his rival, the second when he hits the ground. Now his neck is an easy target for any passing predator.
Fight over, John, you won. Jij comes down, jij comes down. Jij comes.
Oh, no, but get you back just now. Just let me catch up with you.
Luckily, the bull is able to walk away, defeat
and popping it from the nails going through each other's skin.
This is the fight where these guys are going to kill each other right here.
And I think very soon after the fight started, the younger guy thought that he bit off more than he could chew.
Yeah, the old guy's standing up there.
The animals become so exhausted, they rest side by side, but neither will give up.
They both rolled down an embankment, locked in each other. And with the older male biting on the younger guy's head, they landed in a dry riverbed.
It's rare for a battle like this to last so long.
Whether you're the aggressor or whether you're getting the aggression from another animal, either way, you don't want to get injured. You don't want to risk a permanent injury that'll affect your hunting ability in the future. They're both risking permanent damage to themselves.
After 30 minutes, the older male gets the younger leopard's skull in a vice-like bite. It's the final blow.
They separated, they moved apart, they lay about 5 meters apart from each other. The older guy got up again, walked around to the front of him and lay down, showing how big he was, still growling. The younger guy lost his eye. I think one of the canines of the older guy went through the top of his eyelid and pierced his eye, so he's blind today.
It's a huge price to pay for a fight he ultimately lost. They may not be predators, but Cape buffalo are notoriously tough. Not only are they humongous, they're infamous for their quick tempers. And if one feels threatened, its entire herd can unleash its fury.
Early one morning, we were following a herd of buffalo. There was about 350 buffalo in the herd. And while we were following them, they started acting very strange, as if there was predators in the area. And we found 4 young male lions. The buffalo started harassing the lions, and the young males were trying to run away. And in the confusion, they managed to divert one of them, and they chased him.
The buffalo is a herd animal. As soon as one takes a step forward, you've almost got your peer pressure to take another step forward. So once a few of them start to make an attack in terms of defending themselves and their youngsters, the buffalo will continue to put the pressure on the lion, and the lion really needs to make a quick escape.
He ran into a tree that had a nice fork in it, and he held himself up in the fork of the tree. His paws, he was starting to shake, and he was looking for a place to jump down. But as he jumped down, he landed right in the middle of the buffalo. They started beating him, they started thrashing him in the air, and as he got on the ground, they were just pushing their horns into him. The lion had been hit numerous times by these buffalo. He was actually lying flat on the ground. I thought he was dead, and then he kind of looked with one eye open, and at the same time, a buffalo came from behind and hit him on the backside, and with the momentum, it lifted him up. He ran away. The buffalo ran right after him, and we were then tailing both of them, and we managed to see him escape, which was absolutely incredible.
And was in the process of strangling it and mauling it.
Lions and hyenas are sort of mortal enemies, and it's really because they're so similar in body size, they like eating similar sized prey, and therefore the competition between them is so much more intense.
Another lion came in and savaged it on its hindquarters. You could hear bones cracking and tearing flesh. One thing that struck us was the hatred, that intense hatred that lions have for hyena. They really dislike them immensely.
This has been a traumatic social interaction between the lions and the hyenas. The stresses and the strains and the sort of anxiety were probably being expressed. This is competition at its highest point.
Hyenas often kill lions' offspring, and vice versa. So the lioness uses this as a teaching opportunity.
Two cubs started playing with the hyena, mock attacking it.
They were very safe at this point in time. The hyena was so traumatized and wounded by the whole thing, it wouldn't be able to hurt the cubs. And therefore the lionesses were quite relaxed to allow these cubs to interact and to learn about the hyena.
The hyena did not survive.
5 young lions playing and climbing trees and falling off trees, and it was like a comedy act. And we were really enjoying ourselves. And then the lights started going and the lions wandered off.
Suddenly, things take a violent turn.
They caught a honey badger and were trying to kill it. There wasn't anything we could do about it because you've got to leave nature to take its course. And the honey badger fought and fought and fought and fought. And the noise from this honey badger was unbelievable. One was in the front and the other one was at the back, and they were tugging it.
To defend itself, the badger emits a putrid odor.
The smell was unbelievable. It just wouldn't die.
Most of the young lions get bored and leave, but one stays behind.
And the honey badger was scrabbling, trying to get away from it. I think it fought as hard as it could, and I reckon it took about 25 minutes to die. The lions just walked off and didn't even bother to eat it. That had been killed for nothing. But I guess it's an episode that you're never going to see again, and it was an experience.
They mark their territory, which includes the territories of several lone females. The males will kill to defend it, but their fights are rarely caught on tape.
We were out filming one day, and we came across 2 sets of cheetah, which I knew quite well, and there seemed to be a standoff.
2 coalitions, a pair of brothers from the north and one from the south, stare each other down over a shared boundary. The sides are evenly matched, making the fight even more intense.
they'd fight ferociously for a couple of minutes, and then they'd need to rest again.
The stakes are high. If one cat is killed, his surviving brother may not be able to defend his territory alone. As exhaustion sets in, the fighting becomes more chaotic.
They just didn't know who they were anymore. And the fight just got so ferocious that one cheetah actually turned and started attacking its brother without even knowing.
Eventually, the animals are so exhausted, they call a truce. All four are badly injured, but survive.
I spent the last 20...
Water doesn't pull out the water.
Lionesses do share kills with their pride, but not always willingly.
All of the female lions just run in the water and start fighting.
Ultimately, she's outnumbered, and the meal becomes a family affair. Wild were skilled hunters in Africa, more successful than lions. But their kills often attract their arch enemy, the hyena.
The Rondolosi Game Reserve was following adult wild dogs. Eventually they caught a young impala. One hyena arrives and thinks he can dominate these 4 wild dogs. So he charges right into the middle of the dogs.
Hyenas and wild dogs, ever since they first came across one another thousands and thousands of years ago, they were never going to be friends. They were never going to be mates. They were never going to get on.
A hyena weighs 3 times as much as a wild dog.
This hyena's got incredibly powerful jaws, so there's no ways they're going to hit it face on, because they know if that hyena even gives them one little nip, it could potentially crush a bone and they'll never hunt for the rest of their lives.
But as a pack, the dogs are powerful. They manage to attack the hyena from behind, where he's most vulnerable.
He started squealing, yowling. Eventually he ran off with his tail between his legs. So in that case, the dogs had successfully defended.
Has come out on top.
We followed the wild dogs, and then at a distance we saw Oribi. By the time we had the vehicle stopped and the camera up, this little antelope was already torn into pieces. We saw these 2 hyenas coming in. One of the hyenas took one of the pieces, and the wild dog saw that.
To defend himself, the hyena backs into a hole.
The hyena obviously knew that its most vulnerable side is the back end, is the blunt end, and the sharp end in the front is the one that needs to do the job. But there's no way that they could have gotten that hyena out of the hole.
Ultimately, the hyena is saved by his quick thinking.
Following them, and I looked in my rearview mirror and I thought, what's this? I'm seeing double or something. I saw 4 huge black-maned lions, and they made chase of these 2 lions.
2 brothers are being chased by what appears to be a group of 4 related lions. The pair splits up, leaving one surrounded.
You felt like the car was vibrating from this roar. You could actually feel it in your gut. It sounded like they were trying to get a message to these two blokes. Get out of here. It is so intense, it is actually frightening.
Experts say it's a pride takeover.
It's two old males coming to the end of their reign and four young males who are quite a tightly bonded coalition of either brothers or cousins saying, hey, it's time for us to take on a new territory, and if you don't want to get out of here, we might just kill you. The four of them really circle this old male, each taking their turn to show him that they are younger, they're fitter, they're stronger. He's very submissive. He turns his backside in, he tries to protect his hindquarters, and he certainly doesn't want them to get anywhere near his throat.
Takeovers are often violent, but are the lion's way of removing weak animals to keep the population strong.
When it was finished, I put the camera down and we just sat there, took a deep breath to realize we were in nature.